Okay. Members of council, senior management staff, I see that we have quorum, so I call to order this policy and priorities meeting of September 19th, 2016. First of all, adoption of agenda. After viewing the agenda, is there any omissions?
So you have a motion here to adopt the agenda?
Oh, I'm sorry. A motion by Councillor Kersey that the agenda for, that the agenda for the September 19th, 2016 regular meeting of Policy and Priorities Committee be adopted as circulated. Is there any omissions? And is the motion, everyone on the motion? Okay, motion passes. Have you got a pen, Max? Thank you. Defeated, carried. Disclosure of pecuniary interest. After reviewing the agenda, does anyone on council have to declare any pecuniary interest?
No, Mr. Chair.
Okay, let that be noted by the clerk. I gotta carry that. Okay, new business. So that policy, a motion by Councillor Kersey, that Policy and Priorities Committee receive the accessibility policy and recommend that council repeal and replace policy S201-02. Discussion on the motion.
Straightforward. Straightforward.
Very straightforward.
No discussion? On the motion as presented, all in favor? Okay, thank you. Motion carries. Motion by Councillor Ribbiak that Policy and Priorities Committee receive this Department of Community Planning and Development report for information as it pertains to information related to agricultural policies and requirements. The discussion on the motion. Oh, Councillor Kersey.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you to our director. I just had a question.
Right.
If on one of these small farms that formerly complied with the MDS guidelines is bought by someone who then chooses, let's say they had horses, and it was bought by someone who then does not farm, so it uses it as a garage, and then is subsequently sold to another person who wants to farm and brings, so all of the non-conforming uses carry on, but now they want to raise pigs. And so now they no longer conform to the minimum distance separation. Is there any level of control within that non-conforming use that would allow us to ensure that that separation was there and would not, that use would not contribute to disruption of the neighborhood, so to speak?
Director?
Mr. Chair, through you, the application of the MDS would only be if they were doing any kind of, needed any building permit for a change of use to that accessory structure. Then we would have to look at to determine if it met the MDS requirements for pigs versus the previous use. So when there is a change of use, that is a building permit application.
Is that only precipitated if there's a building permit application?
MDS applies if there's a building permit application or any type of planning act application. So it wouldn't necessitate a rezoning because raising of animals would be allowed. So in that particular scenario, it would be a building permit application that would be the trigger.
I see. Okay, thank you.
If I may, I'm somewhat confused by your answer, because I understood Mr. Kersey, Councilor Kersey, the building is already there, so there wouldn't be a building permit, but this building that used to be a horse barn became a garage, and now wants to become a piggery as such, and the neighbor was to complain about that, then what would happen, I guess, is the thing.
So, to change that accessory building from a barn to a garage should have required a change of use permit to
Okay.
make it, into a garage and not as a
Yes.
barn. And subsequently, changing a garage to a barn would necessitate a change of use permit as well, which is a building permit application. We don't always know when those happen.
Yes,
And so sometimes we find out about them after the fact, and it's usually as a result of a complaint. And then we would be having to enforce the building permit, which would then be that change of use and may result in fewer pigs being allowed to be housed in that structure.
okay, thank you. So in a particular case like that, if the buyer wanted and knew in advance that he wanted to raise pigs, he had better do his homework and make sure that that building meets MDS then.
That's correct.
Okay, great, thank you. Yes, Mayor Dave?
Thanks very much, Mr. Chair. Interesting about the change of use permit. Do we get many of those? I've not really heard of
I doubt it.
any of them.
Mr. Chair, through you, we do get them occasionally. Certainly, there are change of use permits that we do get when, there is a change in use in a building. Oftentimes, though, they're retroactive, but sometimes we get them before. So it's a bit hit and miss.
Okay, it'd be interesting, I think, as I was so impressed when the consultants and staff did the session on the zoning, and they had all kinds of information in terms of the number of applications and rezonings, et cetera. I think as we proceed through this, it'd be interesting to know how many change of use permits there have been, what they've been for, et cetera. I don't think a lot of people know that, and I guess, Madam Director, to your comment about many of them are retroactive, is it because, as the chair indicated, that the people, a neighbor, somebody passing by might say, hey, wait a minute, that used to be a garage and now it's a pig barn. Somebody calls up, someone up and leaves a voicemail, and all of a sudden, there's a knock and say, hey, by the way, you need a change of use permit. So is that what precipitates a lot of them?
Oftentimes, that's what precipitates it, yes.
Okay, it's very interesting, Mr. Chair. I think it's great that council is getting more information on this, and just maybe to colleagues, this is a bit of an issue in the community. Maybe we should post this on the website as well as a separate report. So I don't know if other colleagues think that same way. I look forward to hearing
It's excellent.
from them, Mr. Chair.
I'm sorry, so we should do.
Well, I'm just asking, does council colleagues think that we should ask staff to post this on the website so that
Oh, I see, yeah.
people can make it available?
Okay, discussion on that, councilors? Councilor Kersey?
I think it's an excellent idea, and I think we can do it by staff direction to post it. It's, fairly informative, and might help the community understand some of the issues that we're dealing with as we move forward on our zoning bylaw, help them inform the process, I think, so.
Yes. So, the rest of council agree with this?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, anyone opposed to this amendment? No? So we can just
Just do it
give
as a
staff
draft.
direction on that?
Yep. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Oh,
Yes, Mr. Chair, we'd certainly happy to post this report on the website. That's not an issue.
thank you. Anyone else on this issue? Councilor Kersey?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. While we were talking about this, it came to mind that perhaps this whole change of use issue should be included in the preamble to the zoning bylaw, or a warning or some such thing to alert the public to the fact that should you be considering a change of use.
Mr. Chair, that certainly is a good idea, and we're happy to accommodate that as part of the preamble or as in part of the administration section
Right.
of the bylaw. I can also inform committee that, certainly we seem to be getting, there for a time, there was a lot fewer requests for lawyers for compliance letters when properties were going for sale. Everybody relied on buyer's insurance and that sort of stuff. I'm noticing that in the last few years, there's a bit of a trend going back to getting compliance letters from us. And so certainly when we do compliance letters for properties when they are changing hands, we do make a note in those letters about the requirement for a change of use if there were to be in those cases where there isn't, there was a garage and it's not a barn, and to convert that to housing animals would require a change of use permit. So it is something that we're trying to be proactive on and note when we know that there is a pending sale as well.
Excellent.
Thank you, Madam Director. Any other discussion on this issue? If I may just say one thing, I was talking to an official from another government, municipal government, local government, and he made the comment that kind of surprised me because of the area we live in, that as a rule, the province of Ontario does not support hobby farms. They either want residences or they want farms, and it wasn't their intent to ever have hobby farms proliferate like they have in the province, which of course they have. And we certainly are living in an area that is, if not being, I shouldn't use the word overtaken, but we sure have a lot of hobby farms, and they seem to be adding a lot to the town and what have you. It's just changing times, and I'm sure that the government of Ontario is going to have to realize that, and this is just the way it is. Somebody making a living on 100 acres of raising some chickens and pigs, those days are gone. And as a result, the last 30 years, we've got 10-acre farms, and we just have to deal with it. And who's to say whether they're a bad thing in the community or not? It's the way Pelham is, and I think they add a lot to the community myself. That's my little thing. Okay. So the motion is that Policy and Priorities Committee receive this Department of Community Planning and Development report for information as it pertains to information related to agricultural policy and requirements. And as Mayor Dave noted, that perhaps we will give staff direction to post it on the website, town's website. All in favor of the motion? Motion passes, carries. Motion put forward by Councillor King, be it resolved that this regular meeting of Policy and Priorities Committee be adjourned until the next regular meeting scheduled for Monday, October the 3rd, 2016 at 6:30 p.m. All those in favor? Motion carries. This meeting is over.